What's going on, everybody? Thumbs up. Can everybody see me here? Can you hear me? I'm coming through. What's up, Jesus? We got Jerry in the house. We got Jasek. We got Catherine. We got Shane. Good to see you, Antoine, Harold, Habib. Always working. I love that guy. What's up, Sherry? What's up, Celine? What's up, Reed? Love the hair. Catherine, looking good. Russell is rocking. And I appreciate everybody's camera on. Peter Franco, I see you. I see your Harold as well. I really appreciate everybody's cameras on. I put a tie on for you in a warm London day. So the least you can do is show me those beautiful faces. And you know, Martini, when they turn their cameras on, they're always much better looking than I thought they were going to be. So turn these cameras on. I have a tendency to throw people out if the cameras aren't on. Not to point any fingers, Catherine Graves or Jody or Lars. I'll give you another 60 seconds and I'm going to do it myself. Sam Doobie, I see your thumb. That's what I see from Sam, and that's good enough for now. I don't know what you're doing off camera, but as long as I can see that you're there. Great to see everybody here today. It's really interesting to hear people talk about what money means to them and what wealth means to them. You know, there's a great quote by Henry David Thoreau, and this is what he said about wealth. He said, wealth is the ability to fully experience life. How many people think you might be onto something there, right? You know, wealth is one of those funny words. You know, when I was a kid, I knew what rich was, I knew what money was, but wealth is a kind of a different word. Wealth to me means almost the ability to create money, which means the ability to be in control, which means the ability to do what you want, which means the ability to take care of others, and maybe the ability to experience life. I think that's what it means to me. Is some of that what it means to all of you here? Just thumbs up if that is kind of resonating. You know, I've gone in so many directions in my life. When I was a young kid, I used to literally dream about being rich. I would literally wake up and I'd be like, oh wait, I was rich. It was just a weird little obsession I had. And you know, we didn't have a ton of money. And then later I spent my life pursuing money. And then I got a lot of money when I worked on Wall Street and I worked in London in the banking industry here. And then I realized that money alone wasn't making me happy, or as Thoreau would say, it wasn't allowing me to fully experience life. Has anybody ever been there before where you finally got some money and you're like, wait a second, I'm supposed to be happy. All the people in the jets are happy. Clearly, Jeff Bezos is always happy, right? Elon Musk is always happy. All the people with the big houses, you know, the streets with the big houses, right? Everybody assumes everyone inside is just happy all the time, right? Does anyone ever assume that, right? Or you see somebody driving down the street with a Benzo or a Lamborghini or in the private jet, and you're just like, oh, they're happy. All the families in those houses are happy, right? Does everyone kind of see what I'm saying here? It's a little ridiculous, isn't it, that we think that way? And so I was about 40 years old, and I was sitting actually, you can actually see it. It's way back here. It was my two-story kind of penthouse apartment in Shoreditch, and I was a banker, and I was 40 years old, and I had millions and millions and millions of pounds in the bank, and I was all alone, no friends, no family, and I was slowly drinking myself to death. And I was like, you know, maybe this money and happiness thing isn't what I thought it was, is what I figured. And so I figured I needed a change, and that's quite frankly why I started London Real. I actually took a meditation course, and it took a couple weeks, and I finally was like, wait a second, this is clearly not working. You're an idiot. Like, this hasn't been working for 5 or at least 7 years. Why are you doing it? And then I made the change and I went on this other journey. And now I've found ways for me to, going back to this quote, fully experience life. And for me, that doesn't just mean making a bunch of money. It means being of service. It means teaching like I'm doing with you tonight. It means creating amazing messages and putting them out to the world. It means having interactions with some of the greatest minds in the world on London Real. It means having a family. It means taking massive risks, right? And sometimes failing, running for mayor of London, not becoming the mayor of London, right? Putting out messages and going head to head with trillion-dollar technology companies in 2020 and almost getting deplatformed on YouTube. Like, this is what has led to, in my opinion, a more fulfilling life. Is any of this resonating with anybody here as far as kind of stories and what might be about you? And then the funny thing is, though, as I also came back full circle to realize that, you know, money was never bad. When I was in banking, it wasn't the money that wasn't making me happy, it was me. And so now I've realized that you can actually create, you can be of service, and at the same time, make a ton of money. And there's nothing wrong with any of that. And so now what I try to do is teach people how they can become wealthy. And in my opinion, that means a ton of money in the bank. That also means incredible relationships, an amazing purpose, an amazing mission, and ultimately in some way to be of service. That's what I'm talking about. And that's kind of what I want to talk about to you tonight. How does that sound for everybody here? Does that sound like a good use of the next, say, 30 minutes of time? Okay, good. I really appreciate everybody being here. I would even like it even better if your cameras were on. Martini, someone's going to go here. Lars, I called you out before. I'm throwing Lars out. I'm sorry. Lars, I'm sure you're a nice person, but you're gone. Okay. I like doing that sometimes. Michael, I'm sure you're a nice person as well, but I'm chucking you off as well. So show me your beautiful faces. Give me some energy. All right. Because, Petia's in the house as well. By the way, put your hands up if you're in the London Real Academy in some way, shape, or form. Maybe you're in our investment club right now, about to put 10 million in the bank. Maybe you're in our crypto and DeFi course. Maybe in our Wealth Academy. Okay, great. Okay, I see a bunch of fingers in there. Igor, good to see you. Petia, good to see you. We got Habib, we got Shane. Okay, great. Fantastic. It's always nice to see a bunch of our students and graduates back here as well. So if everybody's ready, I'm going to jump into this. I would highly recommend you just shut down devices, put the phone away, and just pay attention, because I think what I'll share with you in the next 30 minutes could change your life and could put you on a journey to create wealth in all ways, shapes, and forms, including money. And so that's what I'd love to jump into here. Is everybody ready? Yeah, are we doing this? Okay, great. Martini, if you don't see any cameras on, I give you permission to throw them out. Can I throw one more out? All right, I'll leave you to it. Okay, so here's this presentation. I cooked this up this morning and I want to share this with you. Can everybody see my smiling face here and the presentation? Just thumbs up if you can see this here on screen. Okay, great. So I titled this, I Got Rich When I Understood This. And, I want to teach you money mastery in 3 simple steps. This will start your journey of understanding this. To be honest, I'm still learning. I'm still on my journey. I still have mentors. I still invite new guests on London Real. I'm constantly learning and relearning things from some of the greatest minds in the world. But I want to share with you an amazing way to really look at the foundation of your wealth creation, because most of us start off with a terrible foundation. And I'm going to show you exactly why tonight. First of all, I just want to shout out some of the incredible minds that I've been blessed to spend time with here on London Real. Does anybody know this guy? Hands up if this guy looks familiar. You might have seen him in a jet or in a helicopter or in his new house in Malibu or in his other beachfront property in Florida. This is Mr. Grant Cardone, Mr. 10X himself. And the funny story about this picture is that 12 hours before this was taken, I looked at my team and I said, what are we having this jerk on the show for? Like, why do we even have him on? I've seen this guy. He sits on top of his jet. He's brash. He brags. This isn't London Real energy. What are we doing here? And they're like, well, Brian, I think you told us a few months ago we should have him on, and maybe we misunderstood you. And I was like, damn it. I was like, fine, just book him, give him the directions, right? And so Grant came on the show, and I think about 20 minutes in, Grant was talking to me about being a drug addict at like 23 years old, about how some drug dealer had just beat the hell out of him, almost near to death, had broke a bunch of bones in his orbital. He had gone to his mom's house, and she said, I don't ever want to see you again. If you come to my house high again, I don't ever want to see you again. He was at the lowest point in his life. And I get emotional talking about it. And he built himself back up to what he is today. And I'm like, this guy's 100% London Real. And I'm so glad that I, battled my own media biases to allow this guy on. I've learned so much from Grant, and he gets criticized a lot. And look, folks, if you want to be great in any way, shape, or form in your life, you're going to get criticism. Raise your hand if that makes sense, right? Even to create wealth, you're going to get criticism, even from your friends and family who maybe aren't wealthy. When you start banking that first million, that second million, that third million, when you roll up in that new car, when you take the fancy vacation, you get that new house, they're going to start to get hate on you a little bit. That's natural. All right. Grant has a great slogan that he taught me. And he says this, he says, criticism is a sign of success. I want more. Right. And it's one of my affirmations I say every single day. So Grant taught me a lot about money. I'm going to share some of that with you tonight. The next person that waddled into my life or walked into my life is this guy. How many people know him? This guy with the matching glasses and suit jacket. Come on, how gangster is that, right? That's next level. I got to get that. This is Robert Kiyosaki. He's the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's the number one selling personal finance book of all time. How many people have read Rich Dad, Poor Dad here? Anybody? It's epic, right? I highly recommend a reread. Honestly, the first 4 chapters will re-blow your mind away. It's not necessarily even a book about money. It's a book about humans. You know, it's a book about how we should consider how we live our lives, you know, because money and transactions and wealth, it really is how we live our lives. If you look at your life, it's based on a variety of transactions. It really is. And Robert teaches you how to do things and how not to do things. You know, I'm not going to get into everything Robert says, but one of the things he says is that a paycheck is a drug habit. How many people understand what he says when he says that? It's a drug habit, a lot like heroin. As in, as soon as you get that paycheck, what do you want? You want another paycheck. You want another paycheck. When someone takes it away from you, what are you doing? I'm panicked. I got to get my drugs. I mean, my paycheck, right? It doesn't even ask you to be creative and think, how can I generate wealth? How can I make $1 million? All you're doing is waiting for somebody, your dealer or your employer or your government, even worse, to give you a little pittance so you can just stay sober for one more day, or sorry, keep your hand shaking for one more day. That's what a paycheck does to you, and they give you one in your teenage years, right? How many people know what I'm talking about there, right? Raise your hands, right? It's one of the most dangerous things that's ever done. Not to mention universal basic income. Don't even get me started about that. So Robert's taught me a lot of lessons. I'll share with you what he said tonight. This is Jim Rickard. How many people know Jim? Had him on my show quite a lot recently, and he's talking about currency wars, the death of money. The BRICS nations are now creating their own currency. Jim understands so many things about money. We both spent time at the same time on Wall Street together. You know, he was one of the top lawyers for some of the biggest hedge funds in the world. He also spent time in the CIA. I mean, Jim, I always tell Jim, when I grow up, I want to be just like Jim. You know, he just went to Antarctica. He's out there cross-country skiing with the penguins, you know, and he's like 77. I love it. And Jim's taught me a lot about money, and I'm going to share what I can with you as well, what Jim has taught me. This is Dr. Bruce Lipton. Does anybody know him? Raise your hands if you know him. He's a specialist in epigenetics, which is the expression of your genetics. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're like, Brian, what the hell? Why are you bringing a doctor in here to teach me about wealth? Did I click on the wrong link? No, you didn't. Because Bruce Lipton sat down in my studio 5 or 6 years ago. And look, I have scientists on. I had doctors on before. And I'm like, this guy seems pretty interesting. But when he sat down in that chair, he dropped so much science on my head. My brain was just scrambled. And his episode went on to be watched 2.5 million, 3 million times. And here was a doctor specializing in epigenetics or gene expression, as in your life isn't determined by your genes. Your life is determined by the expression of those genes. And guess what? You can determine how to express those genes. How many people agree with that, by the way? It's an incredible way to look at it. And yet he's considered, you know, a quack scientist by so many of the mainstream, right? We saw what those people did during lockdown, right? So again, Bruce has dropped some of the most important wealth advice ever, and I'm going to share with you a little bit of that tonight. And of course, there's this guy. How many know this grumpy old man with his castle in Scotland? We know him, right? That's Mr. Dan Pena, the $1 trillion man. And this is me at his castle in Scotland for the 3rd time, I believe I was there, maybe the 4th time. And I'm accepting the award to be on his Hall of Fame. And now I'm up there with the pictures of all of his, not just billionaires. He's got people up there that have made 10 billion, 20 billion, $30 billion. And I'm up there alongside of them in his Wall of Fame. And yeah, I've learned a lot from Dan. I've chronicled our relationship together. Many, many episodes with millions and millions of views. I made a documentary film about my relationship with Dan. And Dan also taught me a lot about money. And I'm going to try to share a bunch of that knowledge with you today. Sound good for everybody here? All right, good. And I'm still learning, folks. I'm still learning. And I want to be learning till the day I die across the board, but it's continuing to learn about money. And so I want to jump into this because I want to share three steps today of how you can learn money mastery in 3 simple steps. Now, there are more steps after this, but this should really give you a chance to kickstart things. And I don't think you've ever heard these things before. You definitely haven't heard all 3 of these things together. And that's what the beauty of London Real is I can give you a perspective that no one else in the world can. You know, there's a lot of money shows out there. Does anybody know some of these money podcasts, right? All they talk about money. They talk about passive income. Okay, that's great. Then they have these mindset podcasts and they talk about mindset. Then they've got people to talk about spirituality. Well, we do all of it. And so I believe I can give you some unique intellectual property that'll help you get to the next level. And that's what I want to share today. So step one, I'm going to show you how to recognize the trap. I believe we are all inside of a matrix that we sometimes can't see very well. How many people agree with that, right? We've been preconditioned to a lot of rules and ever since we were born. And sometimes there's so many rules that we never get to step back and say, well, wait a second, why? Why do the bankers run all the money? Why do these doctors tell us what to do? Why do the government officials get to make the laws that make us do these things? Are they right? Like all these preconditioned, these kind of truisms that we never question. So I want to encourage you or show you how you can reprogram your subconscious. And I want to make a case to you that the first 7 years of life determine everything or 95% of your future. How many people agree with that? The first 7 years are how your subconscious is programmed. And unless you're actively deprogramming yourself, it's very hard to stop. A lot of your life right now, I would argue, is a photocopy of your subconscious. And you might say, no, Brian, I have free will. I can change. I can be a different person every day of my life. I'm like, you think you can, but most of your every single day and every single day for the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years until you die, unless you are proactive about it, is going to be a photocopy of your subconscious. How many people agree that could be true? Can I just see a show of hands? Okay. Not everybody. Catherine's not convinced. Habib is. Okay. Peter. Okay. Well, I'll make a case for that. And again, I encourage any type of, I love disagreements and debates. I just want to get you thinking about these things because the world will not get you to think about these things. They like you just the way you are, right? Just to go along with the herd. The second point I want to say is this, and this is controversial, but I believe that schools teach you to be poor, period. Schools teach you to be poor. And most of the people I'm looking at right now, I'm looking at you, you probably all have had 10 to 15 to maybe 20 years of schooling. How many people agree I might be right that schools teach you to be poor? They sure as hell didn't teach you to be rich, did they? No. They taught you every other goddamn subject, didn't they? Latin, how's that working out? Latin, anybody take that, right? How about Roman history? Anybody making money off that? No. What about chemistry? Anybody making money off the periodic table here? Right? But you spent years learning that, right? What about money? Did anybody teach you about money in school? Anybody? No, but they taught you all this other stuff. We'll get into that. I want to teach you how you can learn how to create and not compete. And that's the biggest mistake that schools made. The last thing I want to do is I want to get you to stop telling the story of your past and to start telling the story of your future. And a lot of you, unfortunately, you wake up every morning and as soon as you open your eyes, you probably check your phone. Your phone flashes you emails, social media, text messages, and reminds you of the life you're currently living that you don't really like. And before you can even get out of bed, you are already preparing yourself mentally for another lousy day or another day of being the you that you don't really love. And by the time you get up and you eat the same cereal and you have the same shower and you say hi to the same people and you drive, you're working the same thing and you put on the same clothes and you go to the same job and you say the same things and you're frustrated in the same way. And then you come home at night and you eat the same thing and you watch the same show on Netflix and then you wonder, I wonder why I'm not happy. Does this resonate with anybody here? Right? Okay. Right. This isn't my idea. This is something that Dr. Joe Dispenza has told me. And so unless you start retelling a new story about yourself, you're never going to change. And so I want to show you how by telling that new story, you can learn how to 10x your income and start making those wealth changes. So that's what today is all about. How does that sound for an action-packed call? Pretty good, right? Pretty juicy. All right. Well, I think we should get into it and jump in here. So let me do that. By the way, this is a way that we are creating wealth right now with the London Real community. So just to tell you, there is something coming at the end, but I created London Real Ventures about 2 years ago. And the people that just raised their hand earlier, a lot of them are busy now creating generational wealth with me. And the way we're doing it now is by taking 12 years of work that I've done on London Real, got our 12th year anniversary in October, and we created the world's first media powered investment firm. So now we're taking the platform of London Real with 1 billion views and 5 million subscribers, and we're investing in companies, and I put the CEO in the leather chair. And from there, we give them customers, we give them a media profile, and we try to use that to make them become these massive companies that we then reap the rewards. And so we're literally doing this as we speak, not creating thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands or even millions, but we're looking to create tens of millions, hundreds of millions, and billions of dollars through this entity right now. If you watch us over the next 3 to 5 to 7 years, you're going to start to see some incredible things happen. But it can't happen without understanding your wealth mindset first. So again, this is just some of the deals that we've already invested in. And you can see London Real by the numbers on the bottom. This is a very attractive thing if you're a CEO to know that you can come onto a platform as big as this. And just so you know, we're currently investing over $3 million right now into 3 companies that happen to be metaverse AI companies, because this is where we see this massive, massive upside. And so just to let you know that while I like to talk about foundations and subconscious, behind the scenes, we are literally creating massive amounts of wealth for the people that understand what I'm talking about here today. And again, my pledge to these people behind the scenes in our investment club and in our wealth academy is I'm here to create $10 billion of wealth for my members in the next 10 years. So that's my plan. Just so you know, the reason I can have this focus is because of what I'm about to teach you now, because I have done the work on my subconscious and looking at a lot of aspects of my life to put me in the mindset to not only attract wealth, but also create wealth, and then also make sure everyone around me is wealthy. Does that make sense to everybody here? So I just want to show you that there is a method to the madness, or a payout to what we're talking about today. So again, pay attention to what I'm saying. This is going to move fast. I want you to really think about this. Maybe even think about this for the next 24, 48 hours, because I believe this is why you have not created the wealth that you want to create. And I believe this is true. The primary difference between a rich person and a poor person is how they manage fear. Let me say that again. The primary difference between a rich person and a poor person, it's not the business school they went to. It's not how much money they have in the bank. It's not the wealthy friends. It's not even if they're good entrepreneurs. It's simply how they manage fear. Can I just see a show of hands? How many people think that I'm onto something here, or think there could be something here, you know? And fear is a funny thing, because fear will convince you that it doesn't exist, right? Anybody know what I'm talking about here, right? You'd be like, no, I'm not scared of anything. That's not the problem, really. Okay. And I'm going to show you how, if you look at it, people like Elon Musk, he knows how to manage fear. Do you think he minds failing? I mean, this is a guy that's sending rocket ships and they're exploding, right? This is a guy that overpays by $20 billion for a social media platform. This is a guy that tries to go against the big petroleum, petroleum consuming automobile manufacturers in the world with an electric car, and actually makes it happen. Do you think he takes risks? Raise your hand. You think he takes risks? He's the richest man on the planet. All right. So then how do you think you can create wealth without going into your fear? That's my question for you. Unless you admit this is true, I can't help you. If you can admit this is true, then I can encourage you to take risk, and that will create wealth. But if you don't take risk, you will not create wealth. And quite frankly, you don't deserve it. And that's what the UBIs are for. And that's what all the other nice warm hugs are for everybody out there that doesn't want to take the risk and wants a handout. There's plenty of that out there, but that's not what I'm talking about here. So this is how I want to start. And I want to show you a little bit about me growing up. Now, this was the first instance in my life of blatant child abuse, in my opinion, right? I mean, come on. You're dressing a poor young little boy up like Santa Claus. Is this fair? Come on, raise your hand if this is even fair, right? I mean, how can you do this to a 2-year-old kid? I'm just joking a little bit, but here I am dressed up as Santa Claus. I don't know what my mom was thinking. But I think she thought it was funny. That's my brother on the left. And this is in San Diego, California, around 1972. I grew up in the suburbs, pretty basic upbringing. My mom was a teacher. My dad was an electrical engineer. They both met in high school in Arizona, and they moved out to California so my dad could, make it big as an electrical engineer. And so this was us as kids. I didn't grow up necessarily, with in a castle. I didn't grow up with any necessarily people that were wealth-minded. As far as parents, it was pretty normal. So everything I've learned has been pretty much self-taught. This is me at 16 years old, and I'm very proud of my new 1968 Ford Mustang. Now, I worked 2 summer jobs to save up $1,200 to buy this car because my family, they were all about not giving me anything. It was like, if you want something, you work for it and you buy it. They would never, ever buy me a car. Matter of fact, they trained me so good, I would never ask them to buy a car. And I'm really proud of this. And people forget, back when I grew up, this was my tool for independence, right? My daughter, when she turned 16, the last thing she wanted was a car. She had independence on her phone, right? But back in the day, you needed a car for independence. Anybody remember those days back in the day when you had to have that car, right? So you could get away from mom and dad. So there you go. The car, I would later take the vinyl top off. I would paint it nicely, turn it into a bit of a muscle car, but I'm very proud of this point. So I was taught, you work, then you have the money and you can buy things. Fortunately, I was blessed with some really good grandparents. And I think they helped my subconscious programming by showing me kind of entrepreneurship. And on the left is my grandpa Benedict, who was a cattleman. And you can see he's got one of those bolo ties around his neck. He's in Arizona. He had a cattle ranch. You can see some kind of cattle stuff in the back. You can see his left hand. Can you see his left hand? It's kind of bunched up there on the bottom. Can you see that? It's because he had a stroke a few years earlier and half of his body was paralyzed. When they told him that in the hospital, he basically said, hogwash, get out the cart. And they said, you can't move. And he said, buy me a golf cart. And that's how I'm going to go see my cows. And so I was around strong people who had worked hard in the fields and in farms and ranches. And if you quit in these scenarios, quite frankly, you would die. And so would your family. And so I was given that as well. And I noticed recently that the second episode of child abuse was my mom, who made me wear that Mickey Mouse sweatshirt. Can anybody see that there? Again, like amazing that I even turned out okay at this point, right? And so on the right, you've got my grandpa Rose and my grandma Rose. My grandpa Rose was a cotton farmer in Arizona, and he had nothing. And my grandma once taught me when she drove me around Phoenix, she pointed to a field that was on the left as we drove around in her air-conditioned car that I was complaining about. And she said, do you see that field? She said, your grandpa spent 2 years digging tree trunks and stumps out of that field before they could even plant a single crop. And so again, I was just taught implicitly the value of hard work. They never had to lecture me, but they always taught me that I kind of needed to do these things. And so this was kind of my subconscious programming. I think I'll always be indebted to them, but they never once sat me down and said, Brian, you better do this. It was all taught through osmosis. Did anybody else have grandparents like that? They kind of taught you lessons without telling you them, right? Okay. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing to have. So this is my upbringing, and I just want to get into this. So the first thing I want to say is that in order to start, we need to recognize that we're in a trap. Recognize that we were brought up with a lot of preconceived notions that aren't helping you right now create the wealth and the life that you want. In that sense, I'd like you to admit that you kind of live in a matrix. It's this world that sometimes we can't see that's getting us to be kind of victims without knowing it. And I want you to plan your escape now. If you're on this call, that means that you're interested in escaping. And I'm here to help you. Maybe you're Neo. I don't know. I hope you're the one. Perhaps you are. And so you have to understand the reality you've been sold, and you've got a way to unplug from it. And so again, we all live in a trap. We live in a money trap. And now what we want to do is plan our escape. And so this is me and Dr. Bruce Lipton in the old studio. And he's the author of the book called The Biology of Belief. And I want to play for you a video from Bruce. But before we say that, he says an amazing quote in this video, and I want to say it before we go in. And he said, Brian, we are programmed to be poor. How many people agree with that? We are programmed to be poor. Now, look, I'm not saying there's some big conspiracy theory. I'm just saying that when you look at our government, our education system, our media, God forbid, the experts, all these lessons there are programming us to be good little worker bees. They're not programming us to be these risk-taking entrepreneurs that are going to change the world and build wealth. And so hearing that from a doctor was very eye-opening. And so what I want to do is I want to play for you a couple minutes of a video of Dr. Bruce Lipton when he was in my studio. And again, I didn't see this coming. You know, I thought we were going to talk about epigenetics. And the last thing I ever thought was that he was going to drop science on this. But this is probably one of the most important videos you'll ever watch. And there's a reason this episode has been watched millions of times. So pay attention. This is Dr. Bruce Lipton.
Give me a child until it's 7 and I will show you the man. They've been saying that for 400 years because they knew 7 years was the program period. And 95% of your life after that will be whatever that program is. 95% of your life is coming from the subconscious. Your life is a printout of your subconscious behavior. Before you can become conscious, if you don't have any programs, what are you going to be conscious of? What kind of programs are required to live on this planet? I say, how do you get them? Theta is hypnosis. You just watch. You watch your parents, you watch your siblings, and your community, because you have to learn how many 100,000 rules. Think about it. Just to be a functional member of a family and a functional member of a community, there are rules. Teach an infant these rules. I say, oh, you don't have to. First 7 years, they observe it and just download it. And then I say, well, why is it relevant? Because this is the unfortunate fact. 95% of our life, this is a fact, comes from those programs in the subconscious. Every day, only about 5% of their life are you using conscious, which is creative. And you don't see it because it's called subconscious, below conscious. I can feed you with an idea that this pill that we just got from the pharmaceutical company, it's the greatest, best thing for your issue. And I give you this pill and you get better. And then later you find out it was a sugar pill and everybody goes, yeah, that's called the placebo effect. And I go, what does it really mean? I said, you didn't get healed by the pill, you got healed by the belief in the pill. And I go, well, yeah, that's what placebo is all about. And at least 1/3, minimum of 1/3 of all medical intervention is, it's the placebo effect where the healing comes from. That's a result of positive thinking. What about negative thinking? And this is what we don't talk about, but the reality is it's equally powerful in regard to affecting your biology as is positive thinking, but it works in the opposite direction. A negative thought is called the nocebo effect. Can cause any disease and you can die. If you believe you're going to die, you can die from the belief. So we really have to watch out because, as psychologists would tell us, 70% or more of our thoughts are negative and redundant, replaying the same negative thoughts. I go, if thoughts had nothing to do with it, fine. But thoughts, positive or negative, shape our biology. And all of a sudden it says, well, now it's time to wake up because our negative thinking is manifesting a negative life experience. Well, we have to recognize, number one, that 95% of our behavior is coming from subconscious. So a child is going to record for 7 years. And they're going to record you. You have a new baby. That baby is going to look at you because you are the parent. The first thing a baby learns in the first week or two of life, who's the parent? Very important, because that's the reference point. If anything goes in their life, they're going to look at the parent first thing. A child on a playground is on a swing, falls off the swing on the ground. First thing it does is look at the parent. If the mother's like, ah, the kid starts crying. But if the mother goes, get up and get back on the swing, the kid gets back up on the swing. It's reflection. So you have to recognize a child is going to observe every move of you. Then you also have to recognize, well, hell, if 95% of it is coming from my invisible programming, I'm going to pass on the family pattern unconsciously. And basically said, you come from a poor family and you could struggle your whole life and try to get rich, but you're not going to make it. And if you come from a rich family, you could be stupid your whole life and make it. Not because it was thinking, but it was unconscious behavior that was downloaded from rich families into kids, which is unconscious. So they're making the right moves unconsciously. If they engage their conscious mind, then they look stupid, but it's unconscious. And that's the same thing with poor people. Poor people have beliefs from the family. Oh, you can't make it. Life's a struggle. Things are hard. Who do you think you are? And if that's the program you get, then 95% of the day you will sabotage yourself. And that's why poor people stay poor and rich people stay rich, because the programming. When you're thinking, that's a conscious mind function. The answer's not out here, it's inside. So the moment you're thinking, you let go of driving the vehicle because you went inside. I go, well, it doesn't mean whatever you're doing, you stop walking or driving the car or doing a job. Those are programs in the subconscious because you've repeated them over and over again. So the subconscious is autopilot. When the conscious is busy, autopilot drives the vehicle.
Deep stuff, huh? How many people got something heavy from that? How many people got something really big? You know, I watched that alongside of you, and I'm picking up things that I haven't even seen before, right? So much to unpack there. You know, 100,000 rules that we learn as babies just by watching things around us. How many people agree with that? 100,000 rules, like protocols. Why, you know, why does mommy do this? Why does daddy do this? Why is the queen the important one in England, right? Why do the doctors do this? Why does daddy have to listen to what other people tell him to do? Why does he get angry about his job? Why, you know, all these rules, right, that we're taught, and we just download them. I mean, the weird thing is my son Caden just turned 7 years old, and so for the last 7 years, I've watched him from coming out of the womb. He literally turns his hard drive on, and he's taking in everything, everything. If he had been in China, he'd be speaking Chinese right now. But since he's in England right now, he's speaking English. And he's adopting all of those programming out there that are teaching him all of these rules and programming him, if I don't get involved, basically to be poor, right? To listen to all the institutions and to do what he says. Is everybody with me here, right? That's dangerous. So when you recognize that, you can kind of move forward. The other point that he says is that 95% of your life is now based on that subconscious. Unless you are proactively trying to change it, you're going to just be on photocopy. That's it. You think you're in control. You think you're living your life, but your life is being lived for you. How many people agree with that, by the way? That for most people, their life is being lived, right? The other thing that's powerful is that placebo. It's funny how nobody talks about it. Most people are like, oh yeah, the placebo effect. Everybody knows it's responsible for 1/3 of all of the healing in the world, sometimes even more, up to 50% on some trials. But what does it mean? It means that your brain can change your physiology. If your brain could cure an ailment in your body, maybe even a cancer, do you think your brain could make you wealthy? How many people would think it could, right? That's easy. Are you kidding me? Like, you're literally changing like the tissues in your body. Do you think it could make me wealthy? Now, also, there's the nocebo effect. So if you don't force your brain into a place of generating wealth, it's going to do just the opposite, and it's going to make you poor. How many people agree with that, right? Same with your health, right? If you're just like, oh, you have cancer, you're going to die now. You're probably going to die. And it's like, oh, you're poor and there's nothing you can do about it. Oh, well, you're probably going to be. So I just think it's really powerful when Bruce can show these things to us. And then we can start to say, oh my gosh, wow. And the thing is, you don't know your own programming. I think it was Terence McKenna that once said, I don't know who discovered water, but it certainly wasn't a fish. And so you grew up in this thing, and it's very hard to see it unless you get some help or you get yourself to really detach. And that's where meditation helps and all these other things. But if once you can see it, then you can start taking steps forward. All right. Is everybody still with me here? Right. All right. Important stuff. All right. This is really good. Kind of getting warmed up here, but I think it was really important to show Bruce there. So again, my takeaways from Bruce are this. Give me a child till he's 7. Of course, my son Caden just turned 7 and Damon's turning 6 in August. So like, you know, and I'll show you the man. So I am busy fighting the conditioning they're getting from the world, YouTube, their teachers, their friends. And then I'm over here trying to teach them about money. I don't know if you can see over here in London Real Studios, there's a table here. And right there on that table is a game on the table. And we play this every Sunday. It's called Cash Flow, right? It's Robert Kiyosaki's game called Cash Flow. And we play it every single Sunday. And it shows them that the only way to get out of the rat race, which is working for money as a salary, is to acquire assets. They literally have green tabs that say passive income, right? They get a chance to buy real estate and stocks so they can get passive income. And on front of them, each has a sheet that says income statement. And I personally get a kick out of the fact that my 5-year-old son is saying the words income statement and passive income. Do you think that's putting them on a pattern of becoming wealthy? Anybody think it is, right? More so than the school system? Yeah, I think so, right? By the way, cash flow is like a supercharged version of Monopoly. Monopoly is not bad because at least it's showing you, you know, when you get real estate, you make money and but this is like supercharged. So I know I'm fighting, you know, the matrix, but I'm going to fight back. Caden just started his YouTube channel 2 weeks ago. They have savings. They're going to have crypto soon. Once they understand that, they'll understand assets. Then they'll understand assets that are cash flow assets. So I'm doing everything I can. It's still going to be hard work. So that's if you have a father like me. I didn't have a father like me. And again, you know, so that's what I'm working on here. So again, 95 is coming from the subconscious, but you can change this. And this is the lesson here. You can reprogram your mind for abundance and success. We've already started doing this for about 50 students that have gone through a process with us now of reprogramming their minds. But you can't reprogram unless you agree that you probably already are a victim of subconscious. So just to finish this video, how many people agree that you have probably been programmed and that a big chunk of your life is subconscious driven, right? And it's on repeat for something that you never bought into, right? Never bought into. All right, that's good. The good news is you can change it. So let me keep going here because I got some more things I want to drop. My next point is this, and that is schools teach people how to be poor. And I go really deep on this inside of our academy, where I really talk about schools. I mean, where did schools come from? Let's take some ownership here. I am wearing a 3-piece suit, right? That was designed and originally made in the United Kingdom, right? Back in the Victorian era during the Industrial Revolution, when England ran the world. 25% of the world was run by the United Kingdom. And we were really good at creating manufacturing, right? We were really good at getting workers to work in a factory and make things, right? Like knives, like cotton garments, like you name it. We manufactured things and sent it out to the world. Is everybody with me here, right? Everybody with me here so far, right? So you got all these workers making looms and making all this stuff and selling stuff back to the world. By the way, that we would go to nations and they would give us their natural resources and then we would sell it back to them is what we would do, right? And so you've got a bunch of these workers making goods for 8-10 hours a day. And all of a sudden, guess what happens? The factory owners look around and they're like, what are these little pesky things that are running around and getting stuck in all the machines? What are they? They're children. What are we going to do with them, right? We can't get rid of them. Everyone's going to ask questions. What are we going to do? Well, what we can do is we can turn them in to future workers, right? Everybody with me? Perfect, right? But we got to do something to get them to become workers. What are we going to do? Let's put them in school, right? Let's see if they can manage spending 10 hours a day sitting there, taking orders from one other person, forcing them to compete against each other to do a little bit better than the other one, right? To maybe make a few more products than the other one, and to suffer boredom. And let's get them to do that 10 hours a day until they become in their teenage years. And once they do that, then they can become workers. That's literally how the school system was born. Is everybody with us here, right? It is. And guess what? Since England was so powerful, we exported that to the world, including America. And so everything you see, the memorization, right? The competing with each other for good scores, the listening to a boring teacher all day long about subjects that have nothing to do with you, that was all born out of the idea just to turn young children into future workers. How many people agree with me on that or can see that parallel here, right? And unfortunately, the system hasn't changed. It really hasn't changed in 150 years. It's still pretty much the same, which is crazy, right? And so what happens? It's designed to manufacture obedience. It makes us risk averse. Does anybody ever do good in school if you disobey the teacher and do something crazy? No. You know, Elon Musk, what does he do? He disobeys people and does things crazy. What's Facebook's motto before it became Meta? Move fast and break things. If you do that in school, you get sent to the principal's office. So it makes you risk averse and it doesn't teach you how to create. It teaches you how to compete, which honestly, if you want to create wealth, it's the last thing you want to do. There's a famous Silicon Valley investor named Peter Thiel, and he's got a great expression. He says, competition is for losers. Why would you want to compete when you can go over here? When Elon Musk created SpaceX, was he competing with anybody? Was he? No. He's like, I'm going to go create this company that's going to provide rocket launch vehicles to all the nations in the world. I don't want to compete with anybody. I want to create something different. Did he try to compete with car manufacturers? No, he's like, I'm going to create the only electric car company. So again, he's not competing, he's creating. So this is a standard lesson. And luckily I have a guy like Robert Kiyosaki who taught me that schools teach us to be poor. He also taught me a few more things. And this is very controversial. He says, Brian, poor people work for money and rich people make money work for them. How many people agree with that, by the way? Poor people work for money, rich people make money work for them. Again, a paycheck is a drug habit. A poor person trades their time for money and they do it over and over again. A rich person sits back and lets their money work for them, right? The factory workers are letting their assets work for them. The workers are trading their time for money, and it literally will determine the kind of life you have and the type of life your children have. And so I want to play for you a video from Robert where he talks about some of these concepts. And again, I've been blessed to record, probably tens of hours of content with Robert Kiyosaki. And, he always teaches me something amazing. I want to share with you a small clip of an interview I did with Robert when I flew to Phoenix, Arizona. And we actually happened to hire out this massive sound studio because Robert was doing a digital product and he flew me out and he flew Jim Rickards in and we were doing this whole thing for Robert. And my only condition was that I want the studio the second day so I can sit down and interview Robert. And everyone was like, okay, whatever, that's fine, who cares? And we ended up recording this interview you're about to watch. That's now been watched 30, 40, 50 million times. It's been translated into like 17 languages. I've literally seen a version of this where Robert and I are literally speaking Russian to each other. It's crazy. It's been that impactful because we caught something that all humans can identify in this video. So here's Robert. Take a quick look at this.
You're fulfilling your true purpose if you commit your life to the highest advantage of others. I wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad because I'm serving a mission to serve my fellow human beings. Because the school system will never teach you about money. They teach people to be poor. Poor people say, I can't afford it, I can't do that, I don't have time, because it's an escape. The reason they're poor is they haven't failed.
It's that fear mentality. You play it safe and you don't introduce new risks into your life.
We got to change what we teach our kids.
Introduce a real different mindset.
How can I afford it? How can I do that? A question opens a mind, a statement closes the mind. One of the greatest ways to acquire great wealth is playing Monopoly in real life. So my game financially is business, number one. Second is real estate. And that's why I pay no taxes. My success comes from spirituality, not finance. Every time I failed, it was like, okay, what have I learned? I grow from it. But we have a mission to do. You do not belong to you. You belong to the universe. What does God want done that I might be able to lend a hand at doing? I don't think God likes people being poor.
We like Robert Kiyosaki, right? Getting some good vibes there, right? Does anybody think God likes people being poor? It's a strong statement, but I don't think he does. I don't think he does. There's a bunch of takeaways there that are really important. First of all, this is the crucial one. A poor person says, I can't afford it. How many people have ever said that? Come on, put your hands up. We've all said that, right? We've all been in a poor energy and we said, I can't afford that. It's the worst things to say. It's the most selfish thing to do. And it completely ends any kind of conversation, any type of dream, anything. It closes down any possibilities when you say, I can't afford it. Everybody with me, right? That's what a poor person says. What does a rich person say? It's a simple thing. All it is. They say, how can I afford it? Imagine that. How can I afford it? A question opens up the minds. So next time, you see that Lamborghini driving down the road, your brain will think, I can't afford that. And that rich person doesn't deserve that, right? He probably got it from his dad. He probably stole money for that, right? How many of us have that narrative in our head sometimes when we see wealthy people doing things, right? It's terrible, right? Oh, they must have done something bad for that, right? And that's most people's life, right? They scorn it. They feel bad about themselves. I could never have that. I can't afford it. And they move on. What if instead you forced yourself to say, How can I afford that? That's simple. How can I afford that? Okay, answer the next question. Well, that would mean I'd have to create some wealth. How can I do that? Well, that would mean that I might have to look at starting a business. That would mean maybe I need to acquire some cash flowing assets. Oh, but I'm not smart enough. But how can I learn that? Maybe I need a mentor. How can I find a mentor? Maybe I need to learn that. Where can I learn that? Do you see how that question opens up the mind, right? So I'd like you all for the next 48 hours to watch your internal dialogue and see if you don't have some of these thoughts, even subconsciously. The problem when you're on Instagram these days is as you flick by social media, you're going to see all these things. You're going to see somebody with a bigger house than you, a bigger jet than you, a cooler car than you, and all these things. And your brain is going to constantly say, I can't afford, I can't afford, I can't afford. Guess what? It's going to make you a poor person that day. But if you can stop yourself, you can change that narrative. So that's one thing. The other thing he said that was really interesting is that he said the reason that people are poor is because they haven't failed. School teaches you not to fail, right? School teaches you to try to get everything right and draw all the lines on the inside and just barely get by till the teacher says, okay. Without failing, you're not going to learn. You're not going to learn the big lessons that are going to allow you to be an entrepreneur. Do you think Steve Jobs ever failed? He got fired from Apple Computer, right? Does everybody know that? He got fired from Apple Computer. He came back later and transformed the company into what it is today. Elon Musk fails a lot, okay? And his attempt to fail is the reason he's become great. If you look at anyone great in history, it's built on a litany of failure. And yet school teaches you not to fail. And the lessons go on and on and on. The big thing I like about Robert is he makes a spiritual connection to his wealth. All the greats do it as well. I'm going to show you something from Grant Cardone, and he does it as well. You need a spiritual connection to your wealth. There's got to be a bigger reason for you doing what you're going to do besides I'm going to make $1 billion and I'm going to get a Lamborghini and a jet. Does that make sense to everybody here? Can I just see hands? There has to be a higher reason. I'm going to serve others. I'm going to do it for my people. I'm going to do it for my family. I'm going to go to Mars. Great. Even if your thinking is, even if people don't believe you, it doesn't matter. Even if you see someone doing it and it looks ridiculous. How many people think Elon's going to get to Mars? How many people think it's important to go to Mars? I personally think we got a great planet here. I think it's ridiculous to try to go to some rock where there's no atmosphere as our only solution. I think that's a little crazy, but it doesn't matter what I think because that North Star is driving Elon every single day. I have a spiritual connection to my wealth here. The mission on the London Real Wall in the back is to create a mass scale transformation of humanity into a fully empowered, conscious and cooperative species. It doesn't say to make Brian a billionaire. If it did, we wouldn't have any success. I have a higher mission as well. So I'd say for you right now, if you're watching me here, if you don't have a spiritual connection to your future wealth, you will not be successful. So get one, okay? It doesn't have to be perfect, but it's got to be there and you have to believe in it. All right, good for everybody here? Okay, good. Let me give you my takeaways from Robert, and then I want to share with you our last video here. By the way, if you have any questions, stick them in the chat and I want to answer them at the end. So, oh, by the way, this is Robert's cash flow quadrant. And this is something I share inside of our academy to all of our students, but I want you to take a quick peek at it. It might look a little complicated, but it's actually not. You right now are in one of these quadrants. How many people right now would say you're an employee? You trade your time for money and someone pays you. It's okay. It's all right. We've all been there. Okay. That's your upper left-hand corner. You can see you trade your time for money. How many of you are self-employed? Self-employed. So you're like a contractor or maybe like a doctor or something like that. Okay. Now you're the bottom left corner. You trade your time for a little bit more money, but you basically own a job at this point. Okay. Now go diagonal up into the upper right-hand corner. Now you're a business owner. That's what I do. I own a system. Now I don't trade my time for money, but my system generates money. Is everybody clear? How many people own a business or own a system that makes them money on a good day? It doesn't always make you money, maybe, right? Okay. And then go to the bottom right. Now as an investor, what makes you money? Your assets make you money. Again, a rich person makes money work for them. And so you always want to be finding a way to be going down if you're on the upper left, open diagonal, and then down to the bottom and being an investor. What I gave you a brief glimpse of before, London Real Ventures and all the people we have involved, I've got about 73 people from the London Real family that are investing alongside of me. Those people are investors. So they're putting small amounts of money down to potentially reap millions and tens of millions in the future. You want to be constantly trying to push yourself into that investor sector. You don't have to be a full-time investor. But if you're a full-time employee, I would argue it's going to be a struggle for you to generate wealth. Is that clear? Just for everybody here. Does that make a little bit more sense? This diagram, it really is gold. Just takeaways from Robert is this. Schools teach you to be poor. Think about this for the next day or two. Seriously. Poor people say, I can't afford it. Rich people say, how can I afford that? Force yourself to ask yourself that question from now on. When you see anything, how can I afford that? How can I afford it? My wife wants a diamond necklace. How can I afford that? My boyfriend wants a brand new Ferrari. How can I afford that? My kid wants a this. How can I afford this? My kid wants to go to Harvard. It's $89,000 a year to go send kids to college. How can I afford that? You must embrace risk, not avoid it, which is what most of you do because you were programmed. I do it too. And then you need to learn the financial instruments. And that's something I teach as well. That means stocks, bonds, real estate, commodities, crypto, blockchain, metaverse, and of course, early stage investments. This is all part of it. All right, my last piece I want to give you today is this concept of what I need you to do. And this is, you have to stop telling the story of your past and start telling the story of your future. If you continue to repeat your subconscious behavior, you're never going to go anywhere. And so you need to proactively, every single day, start telling the story of your future. It's so important. This has been a big thing for me in the last few years. It's a way of starting to put myself in a position to accept and draw in wealth from all over the world. And it's working in an amazing way. And the quote I want to put here is, money is only energy. Unless it flows, no value is created. Money must constantly flow. Saving money away in an account and allowing the bankers to steal most of it while you wait for your pension or whatever is the wrong way to create wealth. How many people know that's true already? Can I see your hands up? Right? Keep it away from the bankers. Keep it far, far away from the bankers. It was funny. I was in banking for 15 years and they would always ask me like, well, where do you put your money, Brian? How come you don't put money with the banker and the stocks? I was like, are you kidding me? I've seen how the sausage is made. Get your paws off of anything that's mine. So that's what we need to do. And now I want to share you a short video from Grant Cardone. And again, I love Grant's quote when he says, poor people are selfish. It's a strong thing to say. How many people think that's true? Poor people are selfish. All right. This is what he meant to say. Poor people are selfish because all they do is walk around all day and say, I'm poor, I'm poor, I'm poor, I'm poor, I'm poor, I'm poor, I'm poor. They're a victim. It goes into a negative and it stops, right? I can't afford that. I can't afford that. And he said, that's a selfish behavior. That's sucking energy from everybody else. When there is so much information around you where you could force yourself to learn something. You could ask yourself the question. You could move to the next level. And so I think Grant has something to say. It upsets a lot of people, which is probably why he says it as well. The other thing Grant says is money is useless until it is used. And he is so right. Your money is like energy. It has to flow. It has to go into cash flowing assets. Holding it for dear life is going to keep you poor. And so I want to play for this video for you. Again, I've got so much content from Grant, but I chose this one specifically because I think there's some really interesting lessons here. I've had so many conversations with Grant, and you'll see a few things in Grant that you also saw in Robert as well. So listen to what he says.
Money is useless until it is used. $1 billion or 1 billion friends. Which would you take? You don't need money, dude. You need people. People have the next money you want. We're told this as little kids. Don't show off. If you get too big, you're going to get attacked. Nobody's telling us, get so big that no attack can bother you. You should put money in the marketing. You should promote yourself, not put money in where you and the kids live. A house does not make you money. Promote, promote, promote. If I die today, Elena and the kids will not have to worry about money. 2008, all I had to worry about was money. I had a $60 million lawsuit hit me. I felt like a traitor, like a loser. My life was unmanageable, but I wasn't powerless. I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. I know there's something I get to come back to. You can't kill me. I'm immortal.
For you, it's all what gives you your strength and impact and motivation.
It's my spiritual development first is more important than the money, the marriage, or the kids.
But you couldn't build this empire without Elena.
Without a doubt. People need anchors. Look at me now. I've always wanted to help people. I've always wanted people to help me. I want to create heaven on earth. We're all on one planet. We're all one face.
We like Grant. We're a little surprised, right? You don't see Grant talk about that stuff all the time on his Instagram channel, but it's all there. You can watch all my interviews, obviously, for free on our website. I want to see what people say here. Grant asks a question. Would you rather have $1 billion or 1 billion friends? Raise your hand if you want $1 billion. Come on. I got to see a hand either way. Come on, show me these hands. Who wants $1 billion? No, you don't want $1 billion? Okay, Jessica. All right, who wants 1 billion friends? Okay, I got more hands up than 35. But somebody wants both of them. Celine wants both of them. Okay. Now, what does Grant mean by that? This is a really important point. $1 billion is cash. 1 billion friends is cash flow. You see where he's going with this, right? Your 1 billion friends is your future cash. $1 billion is going to sit there. You can do stuff with it, but it's not going to necessarily do anything. And so that's what Grant means by that. He's got another great expression we teach in the academy, and I've even got my sons teaching it. You wake up every morning, you ask yourself this question. I want you to all actually say this out loud. Who's got my money? Everybody say that right now. Who's got my money? One more time. Who's got my money? It feels well, right? I like talking about money. I like having money around me as well. It's always good to have that, okay? Right? And so who's got my money? What does that mean? It's an interesting point. Now, my boys, they're 6 and 7, and they get an allowance. They get 50p if they do their chores. And the other day I looked at them, I said, how would you guys like making some big money? None of this chump change you guys are making, right? Of course, they're little kids and they're looking at me like, okay. I'm like, how would you like to make some big money? You got to ask yourself, who's got my money? And so they said, who's got my money? And I said, who's got your money? And they're like, oh, you do. Mom does. I'm like, no, we don't. Who's got the big money? And they're like, I don't know. Somebody outside the house, the lady down the road that wants her car washed, the guy that wants his house done. That's who's got your money. You got to go find the people that have your money. That's what Grant means by 1 billion friends. Does that make sense to everybody here? Look, I come into work every day and say, who's got my money? Who's got my money? It's somebody around the world over there that's got my money. And why do they have my money, right? What am I going to do? What value am I going to provide to get that money? That's what you need to be thinking every day. Now, some of you are thinking, who's got your money? Your employer has your money, or worse yet, your government has your money. Oh God, that's terrible. But there's somebody out there with $1 million of your money right now, and they're ready to give it to you. All you have to do is find out who they are and give them something of value. Is that clear to everybody here, right? And they got 10 million, they got 100 million, they got as much as you want. If you identify who they are and give them what they want. This is what it's about. I'm telling you, this is why if you spend your time around the right mentors, with the right community and the right education, your mind is like expanded. And all of a sudden you can go from earning 50 grand a year to 500,000 a year to 5 million a year, and it's the sky's the limit, because the problem is your brain. That's what the problem is. The problem is nothing else. It's not the economy, it's not the inflation, it's not AI. The problem is your brain that's stopping you from getting wealthy. How many people agree with that statement? It is. It is. And nobody wants to hear your victim story. Actually, the worst thing is somebody does want to hear your victim story. There's a bunch of people out there these days that want to hear why you haven't made it. Oh, were you beaten by your parents? Oh, did you grow up in a hard country? Did you get injured when you were young? Oh, guess what? I can show you a billionaire that had all of those problems and then some. So what explains that? Right? The only thing stopping you is your brain, and you can change that right now if you want to. So many powerful lessons from Grant. Let me give you the takeaways I got from him. Again, any questions, put them in the chat because I want to get to these. My takeaways are: the best investment you can make is in yourself. Grant always says this. I love early stage companies. I love AI, metaverse, blockchain companies. I love all of that. And I love all sorts of other things. But the biggest return you can get is in yourself. You can get 10,000% returns in yourself, 100,000% returns. Because if you can flip the switch in your mind, you can start creating millions of dollars of value. More so than any crypto, any piece of real estate, et cetera. Is that clear? Everybody agree with me here? So invest in yourself. The next thing is you don't need money. You need people. You need people. That's your next money. So think about, how do you get them? How do you talk to them? How do you communicate with them? You must have a spiritual connection to your wealth and your pursuit of wealth. Grant has that as well, right? Grant really has that. He's like, I'm immortal. I'm having a human experience. I'm out there. I'm doing this for a spiritual reason. Now, you might not agree, but that doesn't matter. As long as you have that spiritual connection to your wealth, you will be successful. And if you don't, you won't. So that's the takeaways. All this comes down to a theory that you might have heard from Sun Tzu from The Art of War. This is an ancient text from China. And I believe this is true as well. And that is that every battle is won before it's ever fought. How many people have heard this before? Right? And so what does this mean? This means that I believe in being prepared. And so what I do before I go into any situation is I prepare myself. And that way I've already won the battle before it's fought. And so it's all about preparing your mind. So when you go out into the world, the money comes straight towards you. Everybody's cash and energy and interest and attention comes towards you. In order to win that battle, you have to prepare your mind. But this is the theory. Every battle is won before it's ever fought. I believe in order to be highly successful, it just takes three things. It takes education, it takes mentorship, and it takes a community. It's very hard to do this on your own. It's very hard for you to do this without these three things. You can get this information tonight. You can go back to your same world, your subconscious programming, your friends, your family, your whatever. And it's hard to make the change without these three things. And that's why I created the Wealth Academy. The Wealth Academy is 6 simple steps. What I've covered today is basically the first step, kind of the first module of how to stop chasing money and get money to chase you, to draw money into you, because you are changing your brain, your energy, your wavelength, your frequency. And that's why we created this. We spent 6 months working on this program. I based it on everything I've learned over the past 12 years at London Real and everything I learned in finance before that for 15 years. So it's like 27 years of my life I've put into this program. It was very difficult choosing the right things, but we chose really wisely. This is how I teach remotely. We've already put about 60 people through this program with a tremendous amount of success. Some people even in week 3 are reporting, like 6-figure pieces of income coming in. And they're like, Brian, this is just weird. And I'm like, yeah, it is weird, but you've changed everything about you. You're now attracting wealth to a degree that you've never done before. You've expelled negative energy. You've expelled bad habits you've been repeating for 10 or 20 years. And so what I have is this. You get access to a community of London Realers. You get access to me live for 1 hour every single week. You've got what I call my triple tiered, no excuse accountability system. It's 24/7 support with all of my team leaders. And it's 6 modules of incredible IP with some of the greatest London Realers in the world. This is a meetup of one of our communities. It's the best of the best that come into my academy. And this is my syllabus. Module 1 is recognizing the trap, admitting you live in the matrix, and plan your escape now. Much of what I talked about tonight, and that's just the beginning. Module 2 is how to adopt a wealth mindset and start attracting money now. I'm giving you the meditations. I'm giving you the affirmations. I'm giving you the vision boards. I'm giving you the way to kickstart your relationship with money. I call it a pull and a push process, right? I'm a big pusher, a big grinder. Is anybody here a big grinder, right? I'm just going to work so hard that the money's going to come in. Anybody like that? I see a few people like that, right? Maybe Peter Franco, right? I'm going to get up at 5 in the morning. I'm going to work until 9:30 at night until my eyes bleed. I'm going to do more than anybody does out there. That's me. And I can do that. And you can do that for years, though, and get no results. Has anybody ever tried to do that, right? You just try to force the world to give you money. Look, it can work and you can get limited results. But if you want to create generational wealth, you have to attract it as well. That's my pull methodology. So quite frankly, every morning I'm doing 90-minute walking meditation. I'm drawing the money towards me, right? I'm doing money affirmations. I have a vision board. I'm changing everything about my persona to attract wealth, including my mood, including my questioning, including my mindset and my mind patterns, right? Hey, if it brings the wealth in, I'll do it. If you want me to sacrifice a chicken in the corner, I'll do it, right? I'll try it, right? All I know is that this works. And some of the greatest guys on London Real have taught me. But that's not it. Module 3, we go into how to 10x your income and your wealth. We start talking about the actual things you can do, from digital products to digital media to building your brand to all the different things you can actually do to 10x and start getting money working for you and to get you to stop working for money. Then we get into module 4. I actually show you how to slash your expenses. So many people in their personal lives and their businesses are spending more than they earn. Raise your hand if that could be you. Come on, anybody here spending more than you earn at some points in your life? racking up credit card debt? Anybody here? We talk about how to eliminate credit card debt, how to slash those expenses. And again, we've all done it before. We've all made the mistake in our business and our personal life. I show you how to cut it to the bone so we can start using our cash flow to create passive income, which is cash flowing assets. Once you have those, you can spend it on whatever you want. You can buy fancy watches, you can buy cars, whatever. But until you do that, you're going into a deep, dark hole and you're never going to get out. Module 5, is how to master investing. This is learning the language of finance. I'm going to teach you every single financial instrument under the sun. Everything I learned on Wall Street, everything I learned in one of the best business schools in the world. I'm going to teach you about stocks and bonds and real estate and commodities. I'm going to teach you then about what we call the next level investment vehicles, which is crypto, decentralized finance, blockchain, metaverse, and artificial intelligence. These we see as the instruments that are going to get us that asymmetric income, which is why we're investing those in the investment club. And then module 6 is just up and do it. It's your action plan for the next 12 months to start getting results within 30 days. And again, we've already got 60 people that are in this that are having just off the chart results. Of course, I got the bonus module, which is Wealth Secrets of the Rich and Famous. And this is a way to take your wealth to the next level. All right. And we're going to show you all the tools and all the mindsets and give you a bunch of unreleased videos from some of the greatest guests on London Real. This is what we do inside the Wealth Academy. I believe this is true. How many people agree with this statement? Put your hands up if you do. You're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. You agree with that? It's so true. And that's the problem. I can drop science on this. This is probably like blowing your mind, some of this information. But when you turn this off tonight, you're going to go back to your normal peer group, your friends and your family. And guess what? By definition, those people aren't making you successful or you wouldn't be here. All right. It's who you surround yourself with. Let me ask you to do a quick exercise right now. Can everybody pull their phone out right now? Pull out your phone. Come on, grab it, pull it out and pull up your text messages, right? Look at these text messages. Look at the last 5 text messages you have on your phone. These are the people I would argue are your inner circle. Look at them. Are any of those people building a billion-dollar company? Raise your hand if you got one of those. Are any of those people doing a TED Talk, say, in the next couple months? Are any of those people right now involved in a high-performance pursuit of any nature? Of any nature? Are any of your friends and family, have they ever done a high-performance act in their life? Like, seriously, have they? Well, then how the hell do you expect to get to the next level? You're not going to do it. Because guess what happens? Even when you have a little bit of success, your friends and family, they're going to resist you having that success. Raise your hand if you know what I'm talking about, right? Your friends and family, they like you just how you are. They're like, oh, why are you working so hard? Why don't you have a drink? Yeah. Why don't you take it easy? Let's go watch some Netflix. Yeah. Why don't you just relax? Yeah. They don't really want you to be wealthy. What would your friends say if you walked into the room and said, I just made $1 million? Would that make them happy or uncomfortable? Which one? Come on, it would make them uncomfortable, which means by definition, they're not helping you. So I believe this to be true, which is why I took my daughter to Boston last year, because I wanted to force her to have a new peer group. She was the smartest school in her high school here in London. And I knew if she hung out here, she would just be sitting around with the same old kids and she wasn't going to be pushed to the next level. So she went to Boston, started at Boston University, and now she's with all the smart, high performance Yanks and kids from all over the world. It really put her out of her comfort zone, but now she's competing at that level. All right. I did the same thing. I was from a small high school in San Diego. I was the smartest kid in the school. I get to MIT, I'm the dumbest kid in the school, or one of the dumbest. 4 years later, I'm beating them at all the exams, everything, because I figured out how to compete with them. If it wasn't for them, I would have never gone onto Wall Street. I would have never gone onto my career, probably would have never created London Real. It's because I surrounded myself with a high performance peer group. Is that clear for everybody here? That's it. What did I just talk to you about for an hour? My high performance peer group. London Real, here's the secret, folks. London Real, it's just an excuse for me to get a high performance peer group. Did everybody hear that? Right? It's not a show. It's just so I can sit in the leather chair across from Pena and Cardone and Kiyosaki, right? The views in the show, that's just extra. It's for me, right? It's always started off from me. I get the greatest mentorship in the world, and that's how I'm successful. And so this is what I've created inside our Wealth Academy. By the way, this is Marianne Bartel. She's a member of our investment club. She's one of the ones that's making the investments with London Real Ventures. She's a 35-year veteran on Wall Street. She worked at Merrill Lynch Bank of America as like the chief investment officer. She knows stocks, bonds, inflation, yield curves better than anybody I know. She knows what the Federal Reserve in America is going to do before they do it, because she probably tells them. She was just on Fox Business here on the right, like a few days ago. And this is your new peer group. Marianne's involved in all the investments that I showed you earlier, and she's on all of our Zoom calls. So this is your new peer group. I mean, seriously, when Marianne comes on the call, I ask her what's going on with the economy, and I mute my microphone and I listen to her. So this is the kind of people I like to surround with, and this is your new peer group inside the Wealth Academy. By the way, this is Dr. Andrew Haynes. He's a metaverse expert, and he is the one that's teaching us all about the metaverse, blockchain technology, and everything. This is the mansion he built in the sandbox. He also goes to one of the top executive training schools in Switzerland and hangs out with some of the best AI scientists in the world. This is your new peer group. This is Dr. Encore, all right? He completely transformed his career 14 months ago, and now he is our chief investment officer inside our Wealth Academy and inside our investment club. I challenged him to put a video up on YouTube about a year ago. He didn't want to do it, but I'm the mentor. And I said, just do it. And he did it. And he said, okay, Brian. I said, okay, do a few more, do 10 more. 1 year later, he did one a day for 365 days. He's racked up, I think, 450,000 views. And he just got offered $100,000 in pre-sale tokens to be an advisor on a blockchain startup, right? Because he took action and took risk and moved forward, right? Would you have done that? I don't know. But this is what getting around a peer group does. It forces you to make these changes. By the way, he turned the deal down because he's seen better offers than that. This is who you can be with. You surround yourself around these people and you start getting wealthier. And I've got, more, there's more and more of these people behind the scenes. And so I believe firmly that your network is your net worth. How many people agree with that phrase? You probably heard it before, right? Your network is your net worth. Who is your network right now? It's those people on your text messages. Are any of those people going to change the game and create wealth? Probably not. So unless you surround yourself with the right people, you have no chance, or 1 in 100,000. You're like, oh no, Brian, I'm the exception. I'm going to grind. I'm listening to all the wealth podcasts. I got Dan Pena on repeat on YouTube. Yeah, good luck with that. You're just going to be poor. You're just delusioned. You've got to increase your network because it is your net worth. By the way, these are the investments we're making inside the investment club. This is Orange Comet. By the way, Marianne's invested in those deals. So is Andrew. So is Encore. They're building the metaverses of the future. This is Swissborg, which is building the bank of the future. This is Vadim, which is building metaverses for the Fortune 500 companies of the future, also using AI to build their technology. And this is Open, which is our hottest new investment, which is a Web3 super app, basically an Amazon meets WhatsApp for artists and creators. We are literally investing $500,000 to $1 million in every single one of these deals right now, including a massive AI deal we're calling the OpenAI Killer. This is us in that investment quadrant on the bottom right, by the way. So I am very different than anyone else you'll probably listen to on YouTube or on any other podcast, because there's a lot of people that talk about wealth, but very few of them are literally creating it right in front of your eyes with members of their community. And all of these people are investing alongside of us in the investment club, which is an advanced version of our Wealth Academy. And again, as I said earlier, I've already pledged these people we're going to create $10 billion for this community, and you're going to watch us do it. And so again, the people in this community love being in there. They love the energy. They love people pushing them. They're surrounded by people that are graduating from my crypto academy, people that have created YouTube channels, people that are writing books, and the people that are also making incredible investments alongside of us. And so this community is already popping off. It's exploding, and we're having just massive success stories. If I'm really honest with you, it's happening even faster than I thought it would. I really didn't think it would happen this fast, but I think it's mostly because of the mindset we're using. This idea that you can actually draw wealth to you is what's doing it. And this is some of the comments from some of our students that have already joined our program.
It's been overwhelmingly positive. I was really surprised by how much depth Brian and his team have put into this course.
It jolted me, and perhaps is what I needed to be pushed out of my comfort zone and to face my resistance in a lot of areas in my life.
What Brian and the team produced is something special, and I'm so grateful and blessed to be a part of this journey right now.
I have learned a lot about myself, about my poor mindset, about my poor habits, about money. Nothing that I've learned here, any school or university ever teach me.
It's really pushed me. It's pushed me above and beyond what even I thought was possible. I've done a few business courses in the past, but nothing can compare to the Wealth Academy.
It has been life-changing. It's a spiritual journey, a hero's journey. This marks a turning point in my life.
It looked to me being so wide, covering so many topics, that it was just going to be like an intro course for all other programs. And boy, was I wrong.
Here you have to face your fears, dig deep within with honesty and vulnerability. Jump in the void, take action without excuses, and all aiming for the same purpose of finally changing the world to make it a place of freedom, empowerment, respect, success, wealth, and health. This is priceless.
Very grateful for everyone I've met on the course. I love you guys. This will be forever etched in my memory. It's a beautiful experience, and I would recommend this to anyone.
Lean in, face your fears, face your resistance, support your teammates. My biggest takeaway from this course was knowing that I could make an impact.
And this is by far one of the best, most well laid out and thought through courses, plus the depth of the material is just one of a kind.
So I thank you all ever so much. You're all incredible. The family is amazing. Brian is super awesome. The Wealth Academy staff and team are just so helpful and incredible.
It's worth the investment. Come with us, grow and thrive and challenge yourself, and let's build this new world together.
I recommend to everybody to start this course. Don't have any doubts, just trust the process. It's really life-changing.
Damn, I want to join that course, Martini. Woo! Man, I love, this is just a small group of some of the students that have just had these massive changes. Again, some of them just shocked by these massive business deals that they're getting, partnerships, starting businesses, buying assets. So just like some tremendous success in there. And we're just going to take this to the next level. We're going to have just massive success stories going forward. So look, I got a bunch of comments I want to get back to, but I just want to say you all can join this. It's londonreal.tv/wealth. Our next call is on Monday. And again, there's a thriving community that's ready to welcome in. And inside the Wealth Academy, there's people in all ranges. There's people that are new. There's people that are taking our crypto course. That are people that are taking our advanced crypto Kings of DeFi and influencer training course. And there's people in the investment club that are literally writing checks that we expect are going to be turning into millions and tens of millions of dollars. So there's people all along that phase. I'm also giving away bonuses tonight to anybody who wants to join tonight. The first thing I'm going to give away is Dan Pena live at the Ritz. This is a 2-hour video that was taken at a private event where 2 billionaires were present at the Ritz Hotel in London. I was banned from the hotel for 2 years after this event because of the swearing involved from Mr. Pena. But I give you this video for free, and he's going to kickstart you and get you really pumped once you have this. Again, this isn't available anywhere else. I'm also going to give you module 1 of our Kings of DeFi program, which is how to trade like the Terminator. Again, if you're looking to invest in assets like this in the future, it'll show you how to get kickstarted with that and just give you a little taste of what's to come. I'm also going to give you bonus module 1 of our investment club. This is where we're making the big money investing in these companies. And that is what is a crypto token pre-sale and how you can invest early stage in some of these amazing blockchain companies. So these are some of the things that we're just giving away for free. And again, all of that you're going to get if you're on this live call and you want to join us tonight. It's londonreal.tv/wealth. That should really get you going on this wealth journey, give you everything you need to really go. And I really want you to just really think about this quote that we talked about in the beginning. The primary difference between a rich person and a poor person is how they manage fear. How are you managing fear? All of my mentors constantly say to this, Brian, are you taking enough risk? Or they just tell me, Brian, you're not taking enough risk. You're playing too small. You're playing too conservative. People say that about me, and I'm running for mayor, right? I'm creating world's first media powered investment company, right? I'm going head to head with the biggest technology companies in the world, right? And I'm not taking enough risk. You know what Dan Pena said was his biggest regret in life? Anybody knows what his biggest regret was in life? This is the $1 trillion man, not having big enough goals, which basically means not taking enough risk. So if that's him, if that's me, where are you? You have to have someone to engineer risk, which means you need a mentor, you need the education and a community to get you there, because you can't do it on your own. I know I can't. So how do you create the wealth? You got to pull the trigger, folks. And that's what this is all about. I priced this Wealth Academy so low that there's just no excuses. A lot of our further products get more expensive, but this today for $997, you can be in this community for 3 months, which is pretty crazy. The energy, the peer group, you'll literally be around people that are making millions as well. So it gets you involved in an amazing community. Again, you have a full hour live with me every single week. You can ask me anything you want. I go deep on every single module, case studies, and you can see a class also evolve alongside of you. You'll make friendships and business partner relationships you'll have for the next 10 years. And so this is Martini's information. If you want to ask her any questions about what's going on, all of it's here. You can contact her on Facebook or send her an email, etc. And again, honestly, this is a no-brainer. This is the best use of your time and a tiny amount of capital for the next 3 months. We will kickstart you and take you, and you'll get massive gains. You'll make back this probably very, very quickly. And join us at londonreal.tv/wealth and make it happen. By the way, this is our entire Wealth Academy. It starts off with the Wealth Accelerator. You can also then go to our Crypto and DeFi Accelerator. You can go to our Kings of DeFi program. And of course, you could even come into our investment club. That's where we're making that massive generational wealth through asymmetric investing with early stage blockchain, metaverse, and artificial intelligence companies. We're literally cutting checks as we speak in some of the most exciting deals in the world. And that's all done through London Real Ventures. And of course, I love the movie Wall Street. And there's a quote at the end where Bud Fox says, life all comes down to a few moments. This is one of them. Well, folks, if you're on this call right now, if you stayed this long, this is your opportunity. Could be your only opportunity this year. Could be the closest you get to literally changing your life. I would highly recommend you pull the trigger. I promise you won't regret it. So there you go, folks. LondonReal.tv/wealth. Thank you so much for being here. I'd love to go to some questions and answers, some great questions. Looks like we got some old school London Realers that have been there. Was that good? Thank you, Russell. I hope that was helpful for everybody here. Look, we've got a really special moment here because Martini is actually with us. And so I'd love it if I can just get her to come on and talk about how you can book a call with her if you want to take things to the next level. Martini's been with us for years and years and years. She helped me design the Wealth Academy. She invests alongside of us in the investment club. And she's the one that really decides who gets in to our premium programs. If you can't get through Martini's test, then you don't get in. And so as our director of operations, Martini, just tell everybody here what they can do to get to the next level and any thoughts you have.
Yes. I'm still kind of just overwhelmed with emotion, Brian, just watching that video of those students who gave their testimonials. And it is so humbling. It is just so humbling to be a part of their journey. And for each and all of you here, it's just to see the transformation, to see the growth, to see families changing as a result of us being just a small part of that journey. It is truly a privilege. It's just a privilege. And okay, enough of me being emo over here. So I would say, guys, for those of you who are on this call, I want to ask you a question. And I want you to really ask yourself this question. What do I want? And really be honest with yourself of what do I really want? And the next question is, what is it going to take? What is it going to take for you to be able to have what it is that you want? And I will say at the base of all of that, it's going to be money. If you want to be able to provide for your family, if you want world peace, if you want, just peace in your own life, please understand that that takes money to do that. Money buys you options. It buys you options in life. So the next question is going to be, how can I afford it? How can I afford it? And it doesn't have to be as hard or as grueling or as stressful as some of you guys may think that it will be. So what is it going to take? It's going to take you being uncomfortable. It's going to take you acting different, thinking different, being different. It's going to take you being around a community of people who are going to hold you to a higher standard. It's going to take you not being in the world of competition and just pushing and going. It's going to take you having a creative mind and being on the collaborative field, collaborating with other people with mindsets and with heart sets and with goals and ambitions that are going to go higher than what the people you're around are doing. And I know this personally because of who I was before I joined the London Real Academy. I started out as a student, believe it or not. I followed Brian and I stalked Brian, with all of his interviews and all that for a couple of years before I actually pulled the trigger to be a student. And at the time, before I signed up for the London Real Academy, I was working 90 hours a week for over 10 years straight, 2-3 jobs, just to be broke at the end of the month. Every single month. When I opted into the Business Accelerator course as a student, I literally went $400 into overdraft. Overdraft, that means I whizzed on past zero to be able to get into the course. And I didn't know if I was going to be able to make my payment plan. And so one thing that I definitely heard from one of my mentors was, you need to work your mind and not your behind. Stop working so hard. Stop working so hard and allow things to be easy. And I can say, being around a community of people with, and having the education and having the resources and having a community there that was lifting me up to a higher standard, I work round the clock now because I choose to, not because I have to. And that's a damn far cry from where I was before I started this London Real Academy. So for those of you who are really thinking about this and really, should I do it? Should I not do it? Stop thinking about it and just pull the trigger and just join. Because God forbid you live another year of your life in the same routine, living the same way, having the same money story, being broke, not being able to pay bills. And believe me, I've seen millionaires, believe it or not, millionaires who are broke. Don't be that way. Pull the trigger. Whatever it is that it takes for you to go ahead and join us and let us support you. And with those students who gave the testimonials, it just touches me so much because I had the calls with these people before they pulled the trigger and joined. I knew where they were. And to see them get across the goal line and to see what these people are manifesting, the partnerships, the deals that are being made, it's just so humbling just to be a small part of that. So let us be a small part in your journey of creating this exponential wealth that you're wanting to create for you and for your family. So for those of you who are interested in joining, and speaking of pulling the trigger, I really want to send a special shout out to Petia, who's on the line here from our investment club, who's always showing up on our calls because she can't get enough of us. And I see her growth exponentially. And I just want to congratulate you and thank you for Petia for being a part of this community and really just showing also what this community and what this leadership definitely produces. And a special shout out to Igor, who is now our newest member of the investment club, who just confirmed today that he's joining us. So thank you. And we are so delighted to have you on the journey as well. And I want to see more faces on the inside. And I want to see more wealth being built. So for those of you who are wanting to join us, or you have questions or whatnot, I put my links inside of the chat. I put a link for the Wealth Academy, so just so that you guys can see everything that's involved and how we can best support you and the content that's going to be in there. The next thing is, if you want to go ahead and book a call with me, if you have any additional questions or really just want to give me your goals and see how we can support you, because our job is to get you to next. So if you want to go ahead and book a call with me and see how we can best support you, I'm more than welcome and more than happy to do so. But just make sure that if you're booking a call with me, make sure that you're serious, because I'm up all hours of the day and night. I'm around the clock. And like I said, it's not because I have to be, it's because I want to be. And I only want to be and speak with people who are serious about change and growth and transformation. The next thing, of course, if you can't find a time that is available within your time zone, because I know Brian has it spread out all throughout the land, go ahead and connect with me on Facebook and send me a private message just to say, hey, Martini, you know, this is who I am and this is where I'm from. And here's my time zone. Here are the times that I have available. And I'll definitely do my best to accommodate. We do have email, but I'm a millennial, so Facebook is always faster for me. So once again, guys, it is truly a privilege. It is truly a privilege to be of service to this community. And we want to support you to next. And we want to support you in building the wealth that you know that you're meant for and that you know that you deserve. So let us support you. Back to you, Brian.
Give it up for Martini. Come on. It doesn't get any better than Martini, right? And again, this is London Real, right? So you get the real. You get the real from us. So Martini, we're so blessed and honored to have you as part of this amazing team. And, you know, we really have a great team here. And again, I get emotional watching those students as well. And those students are all still with us and they're still making gains as well. We don't stop after 6 weeks. We keep going. 6 weeks gets you your white belt. Then you get your blue belt. We get you your black belts. If you continue to work on all of these issues, that's how you start to create these massive amounts of wealth. And so we love our community. We have a great community because we really care. It's because we have the information and we're having the results and the track record and all these investment opportunities as well. I just want to say thank you to everybody for coming today. I hope you got something out of this. I do this because I love being of service and this information is so powerful. And the more empowered you are, the better this world is. If you can create wealth and create value and create security for yourself and your family, then everybody wins. And I feel like we're doing the right thing by doing that. And so we feel good about it. And even though it means we work hard, and Martini works literally around the clock because she's inundated by everybody who wants to be a part of especially our premium programs. And we have to say no to a lot of people. And so she's literally screening them 24/7. I mean, literally. And so a lot of people are saying things. I got Martin Randolph who said he's been tuned in since I wore jeans and a t-shirt in a room. Yes, that's true. London Real started off in my kitchen. And when I first interviewed Dan Pena, I had no shoes on. Can you imagine interviewing Dan Pena with no shoes on and a skateboarder t-shirt? Yes, that's true. I've had a journey, a crazy journey, and it's gotten me to where I am today. And so I like to leave all that stuff up there so you can see I had to evolve. I had to go through the same process you're going through, and I'm still learning. I'm still learning. A lot of people really loving the content, really loving the mindset. A lot of people saying I'm on fire and everything was going. Look, today felt really amazing because it's not about me. I'm channeling energy and ideas in the universe that I think resonate with all of our DNA. Does everybody feel that to a certain extent, right? And so it's like when I'm doing my job right, it flows through me. It's not about Brian anymore. It's about the ideas and the empowerment. And you can feel it, I can feel it. And that's how we just get these incredible results. And so look, I would just say, you know, life all comes down to a few moments. And this is all great. But if you just hang up and go back to your normal life tomorrow and you wake up and check your phone and you go back and you literally continue to tell the story of your past, nothing's going to change. And so we're literally giving you an opportunity to stop that dangerous loop. What do they say? If you repeat the same behavior, expecting a different result, what is that? That's the definition of insanity. And yet that is most of your lives. That's your life. It was my life for a long time. And so you've got to do a pattern interrupt. You've got to stop something. And I really believe this Wealth Academy is what will do it. Matter of fact, I know it will. So look, pull the trigger, come join us, LondonReal.tv/wealth. We got tons of bonuses. You got an amazing community. We'll teach you everything you need to know about this experience: wealth creation, attraction, 10xing your revenue, cutting your expenses, learning the financial tools. And then we'll show you what we're doing behind the scenes in crypto, blockchain, metaverse, and AI. It's hot. And you'll be part of this amazing community and you'll be part of the family. So I hope you do that. We look forward to seeing you on the first live call, which is Monday. We can get you set up before then. And that's it. I hope everybody has a wonderful evening. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. And we'll see you on the inside. All right. Lots of love, everybody. Thank you so much. All right. Bye.